Thank you for tuning in to another episode of WGC Fits. Today, we are going to throw a little bit of a different video at you guys. We are joined by Captain Ballspeed, who's not so fast anymore.
No, not so fast.
Yeah, what happened? It's gone, just
I
like
know,
that.
it happens.
It's crazy. Magic. We're going to call it that, right? We are going over actually also the Titleist iron lineup, right?
Yeah.
We're going to cover everything from the NB to the 350.
The question we want to figure out for you guys today is which iron head you guys should play.
Which player suits which
Each
club?
iron.
And there's probably I'm gonna say 4 categories. We're gonna say players category.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna say players distance. We are going to say game improvement, if you will, and then I'm gonna throw like elite players in there.
Okay.
Right? Does that sound
That's
fair?
very fair.
Yeah. Now let's define said categories, right?
Elite players.
Elite player.
Meaning some guy who hits the center of the club face every time.
Yeah. I mean, these are
control
clubs.
trajectory.
These are guys who aren't going to really miss center very much. Also guys who are probably looking more at kind of trying to shape the ball and control trajectory versus just help on misses, right? Stuff you're going to see on tour a lot, stuff you're going to see your better players at the kind of like club level kind of play, if you will. The next category is, we'll call them players irons. Now, these are also things that I would argue you're probably going to see on tour. And to a certain extent, probably more so these days than the elite, right? But also this can lead into kind of like that higher single digit handicap guy pretty comfortably, I would say. And if you're a good ball striker, honestly, you could probably even venture into something like this if you're maybe even closer to like a 10 or 11 probably, you know? Next category is players distance. And in the players distance category, this is a bit of a unique one because you do have to strike the ball pretty well, but you're going to be a little liberal with your strike because typically you're swinging a little bit harder than you probably should. You know, these are clubs that you're going to see definitely at your club level. I think this is really where that's going to come into play. Yeah, this is where I do a lot of my fittings. You know, a lot in this kind of, we'll call it like club level kind of golfer. And then lastly is your game improvement category, right? And these are guys who are looking for some help, you know, guys who are going to kind of be a little more liberal with their strike, let's say, and guys who are probably going to be looking for something that's going to allow them to be very, let's call it singular in their attack, right? Okay, so categories defined. Should we say what clubs are inside categories?
Yeah, let's start. Well, you just want to start with elites?
Let's go with the elites, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So in the elite category, I am going to say MB and CB, okay? So MB and CB.
For the record, I tried just to swing at 85 miles per hour.
Yep, all of these are tested relatively
around
equivalently.
a better average, let's say.
And interestingly enough, even in this elite category, you definitely are still going to see players playing an MB and a CB, right? Better players, better club professionals, even your good kind of lower handicap golfers at that club level are still going to be playing. Elite category is really not defined by much more than people who really can strike the ball well, and not necessarily people who are super fast.
Or people that are just looking for that look and feel of a traditional golfer.
Correct.
Maybe because they grew up there.
Yeah, 100%. That very much can be that, right? So MB and CB from Titleist, probably two of the most iconic clubs out there, right? They changed them up this year, right? They went with something that's a little bit different from a branding perspective. Honestly, I've always been a huge fan of the CB. I think the Titleist CB is one of the best looking clubs out there.
It's
always,
very good
every year.
Feel
is impeccable, right? It's just so good. Now, let's look at the MB first here, right? So average, we're at 84 club speed. Pretty good. Carry 160, 175 total, 7,200 spin.
Now, when I'm trying to hit it, or at least when I did hit it, I could like that one that went left. That was just me closing it a little bit, and it went
100%.
So it's more of a.
These are spinnier, and spinnier is going to allow you to get some movement, right? And because they're spinnier, or I should say, causing that extra spin, let's say, is because they're quite weak in loft, right? I'm playing,
very traditional.
Very. I'm playing what, 30?
I'm a 31.
I think I'm
and a half. 30.
Am I 32?
31. Are you power spec?
Yeah.
You're 31.
I'm 31 and a half as well. Okay. So quite a bit weaker than what we would play. However, the reason why that exists is because this type of player is trying to take away trajectory, play with trajectory, work the ball right, left to right, that kind of stuff. And typically with your better ball strikers, that's a little bit easier to do.
Yeah.
You know? So elite player irons, MB here, really good. The CB, you see here, didn't necessarily strike this one as well, I would say.
Scott came in and hit a few for us on camera.
Correct. There was a couple kind of strikes going on here, but again, I also think that you probably struck the MB a little bit better. You hit the MB really nice. So
I noticed that it also went lower, and I know it's designed to go lower.
So center of gravity, right?
Yes, much
center
higher.
of gravity much higher on the MB versus the CB, and that's part of kind of the whole workability thing, right? So we're at 148 carry. We're at 81.2 club speed. Again, you're going to see actually 2 people hitting this one. That's okay. Spin rate a little bit higher. Again, strike dependent. Again, not the best strikes on some of those comparatively. However, still really good. In terms of classic and traditional golf clubs, I don't know if it gets much better.
No.
You know? So let's talk about the players clubs now.
Yeah.
Right?
Which technically these still could be considered. At least the CB and the 100 and the 150.
So in the players category, let's define the category a little bit more now for the type of player.
I want to say like a 5 handicap.
Could be. So I'm going to say anywhere from pro to relatively lower.
Good amateur.
Yeah, good amateur. That's a good way to put it. What's important to this guy, right? Because you kind of fall into this category, right?
I want forgiveness when it comes to irons because I don't hit the center of the face off.
Exactly. We want a little bit of help here. And that's what the 150 and the 100 do. Both of these clubs have a little bit more cavity back on the back, a little bit of a wider sole, center of gravity is a touch lower comparatively, and all of those things lead to still something that feels very good, still something that's going to help us kind of get the ball moving in the direction that we're looking for in this player, because we're still trying to work the ball, we're still trying to play with trajectory a little bit, right? However, you know, we're not always going to be dead nuts on the strike. So it's going to help us a little bit there. Now, with these, the lofts are a little bit stronger, right? I'm fairly certain the 150, we're going all the way up to 32. I want to say
34.
30, yeah, the 100 we're at 34.
Or 100.
But the other thing that we kind of see a lot is a lot of your better players in that elite category will actually combo these as well. Put these on the longer irons.
I believe Horschel does that.
I think Horschel does. I'm pretty sure Max Homa does.
I think he just has a 104 iron or something like that.
I thought it was a 154 iron. It's one of those two, but again, still very much a good club and something that does kind of broaden that players category a little bit.
Very much so.
You can, there's a lot of people who can fall into these. These are something that's probably really close to either second or third most used from a fitting perspective, I would say, right? It's going to be right there neck and neck probably with that game improvement category, right?
And I know Spieth played the 100s and Abe Ober plays the 100.
Well, the 100 Titleist describes as the modern player or tour iron. You know, I mean, that's kind of always been their thing. It's kind of stemming from the AP2, super heritage, lineage kind of thing there. Very much designed for and intended to be played by that better player still, you know, just sometimes one will help, you know?
So as expected, I carried a few of the 150s farther than the 100.
Yeah, a couple. And the average on the 150 is going to be a touch more. Again, that's a loft thing.
Same height, and just spin different.
Spin different. And the interesting part about that is because of the swing speed tested at, you know, loft is your friend when you're not swinging as fast as you do, right? Loft creates height, speed creates height. If you don't have necessarily as much speed as, you know, Captain Ball Speed would, because Captain Not So Ball Speed doesn't have that, you know, like magic and weird stuff. We got to get some loft in there to help us, and that just shows kind of where we're at, right? It's just a more stable ball flight. So the next category we have is the player's distance. Now, this is where you're going to start to see spin drop. You're going to start to see ball speed increase. You're going to start to see a little more forgiveness on your miss hits, right? Now, the 150 is in here because it almost can
be considered,
right? It depends. I guess that's more player specific because your better player definitely is going to say that's like a juiced club. You know, it's 32 degrees, and it can go far, especially when struck well. But with the T200 here, this is really Titleist's, you know, kind of player's distance iron, right? And again, numbers, this is exactly what I would expect out of this type of club. So the thing to note here is really my spin window is going to change.
Very much so. I think about 1,000 less than the 100.
Right. typically when I'm here, depending on the club, I'm like 55 to 6,500, and I'm really happy when they're about here at 6,000, right? Ball's still gonna go plenty high, so 80 feet in the air, 177 carry, right? Really good.
The height, though, I'm actually impressed with because it went 10 feet higher than the 150.
And it did that because the ball speed potentially generated, coupled with, again, the center of gravity, right? Lower center of gravity, higher ball flight. Now, the problem is, right, the reason why you still have to be a relatively good striker to live in this player's kind of category, right? And that's where the average club pro, or club, I should say, club player would be, right? You know, I think the average, last time I did look at this at one point, the average kind of country club handicap stems somewhere in the realm of like 17 to 8, so the average is right around 13, you know? And that's a decent player. That's a better percentage player considering the handicaps out there, you know? So it's not bad. You have to strike the ball well, because if you don't, the speed's gonna fall off, right? So there's gonna be some gapping, if you will. So again, not necessarily the easiest thing out there yet, but that's what the next category is for.
However, still felt good.
Feels good, very playable, and it needs to be said, in this quote unquote game or player's distance category, I do quite like this club. This club to me has always been a standout in this area. Probably a top 2 or 3 if I was doing my own personal ranking. Very good.
I believe some pros play this in a 4-iron too. I think
some of a lot of the Titleist guys are going to have a T200 in either a 2, 3, or a 4-iron, because they do make a 2-iron in this as well. You know, cool. Pretty cool club actually. Very good. So T200 player's distance. Next, we're going to look at game improvement. Now, again, I guess we'll show to the difference here. Not going to be a ton, right? However, let's talk about some of the shots, the strikes we had on the T350. They were not the greatest.
That one was healed pretty bad.
Yeah, this guy right here.
That guy was healed pretty bad, but it still flew straight and it still got there.
You can kind of just hit this all over the face. You know, I mean, that's just how it kind of works.
That's good.
Now, when talking about the game improvement category, the T350, again, 178 carry, but we see our spin down, right? Now, I would expect a club like this in this loft to be around kind of 4,500 to 5,500 in general. This one a little bit higher because it is still a relatively neutral spinning club. Some of them get quite low.
That's
so
good.
5,000 to 5,500, I'm actually quite okay with this specific club. But peak height went down a little bit, right? Because the loft is really strong. You know, ball speed's still up there and still really good. So in terms of who this could be for, anybody who's looking for help, man. You know, and
it's not a bad thing to ask for help when it comes to golf.
Fun fact, you guys can look it up. Major championships have been won with game improvement irons. That's a very true thing. Look it up.
Right?
Ben Curtis did. He used to play if he wants.
Okay, there we go.
There it is. All right, so if we bring them all up there on the screen now, you can kind of see gapping wise, basically what I'd expect. You know,
I'd expect if I hit on the CB ones to have it be more like the MB, but that's about it.
I do. I think the CB would be very similar to the MB. The 100 and the 150, that makes a lot of sense to me. The 200 and the 350, that makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because again, we're progressively getting stronger in loft. So it just goes to show, striking these things well and everything, right? You still want to have playability. You still want to focus on consistency and all that kind of stuff. And that's one of the things that Titleist does quite well. Again, they kill it with irons always. They have really good products. I really like the iron line right now. And I think it's one of the better ones out there. So thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Please check out the next video and we'll see you next time.